What's up, my people? We meet yet again, and today I'm very excited because I'm talking to you about a movie that starred by my favorite actor of all time, who's none other than Eddie Murphy. And that movie is Coming to America. No, not Coming to America 2. Coming to America, which, as I guess, is part 2, the sequel to Coming to America. Right? And first off, let me tell you, the cast is stacked. I mean, who wasn't in this movie? There was Morgan Freeman, Tracy Morgan, Wesley Snipes, Tiana Taylor, performances from En Vogue, Gladys Knight, Salt and Pepper, David O, John Legend. I mean, the list goes on, right? So that was one big plus for the movie. The cast, stacked. And of course, you have the returning actors from part 1, James Earl Jones, Arsenio Hall, etc. It was an A-list cast, hands down. And as for the story, well, it's very much similar to the original. So it's about 30 years later, and Prince Hakeem, who is played by Eddie Murphy, has now become king because his father has died. Finds out that he has a son back in America, from back in part 1, back in those days when he was having his flings, sowing his royal oats, and he goes back to America to get his bastard son. Because at the moment, Eddie Murphy has 3 daughters, and up until just finding out that he has this son in America, he didn't have a son to take over from him as king. But just like in the previous movie, it was an arranged marriage. And just like in the previous movie, the now prince, Akeem's son, does not want to marry his designated wife. But whereas Akeem went to America and fell in love with someone there who he eventually made his wife, this time it's the reverse. Now Akeem's son comes to Zamunda and finds a wife there and wants to make her his wife. But this leads to a lot of problems. Why? The girl that he was supposed to marry originally is the daughter of an army general of a neighboring country. And that general threatens war if that marriage don't take place. But you all know how that turned out. Obviously, the prince ended up marrying to his true love. So that basically sums it up. And by the way, it was somewhat of a musical. There was a few dancing and singing going on and stuff, but not much of that. And as for the performances, well, Tracy Morgan was his usual comedic self. I think Leslie Jones' performance was below par. And as for King Akeem's son, the prince, who was played by Jermaine Fowler, whose character in the movie was Lavelle Johnson, he was okay. Nothing too spectacular, but he was alright. But definitely, the show stealer for me was Wesley Snipes. He was ridiculous in this movie. And when I say ridiculous, I mean in an amusing way, right? He was extremely humorous. Practically 80% of the laughs from this movie came from Wesley Snipes. And if I can recall, it's the second time I'm seeing Wesley Snipes in such a comedic role. The other time was in 2019 in a movie starred by same Eddie Murphy. A movie called Dolomite Is My Name. You should definitely see that one. I'd say it was even better than this. But definitely, the performance from Wesley Snipes in this movie was definitely better than the performance in Dolomite. He was the star of this show. But on the downside though, apart from Wesley Snipes, were a few laughs here and there, but not much. There are a lot of attempts at jokes, but honestly they didn't really come across very well. but it wasn't too bad. And the other fault I found was that the romance between the prince, Lavelle Johnson, and the girl who he eventually married, it wasn't very believable. I think it happened too quickly. You didn't really see them falling in love and all that. It just kind of happened. But her acting was good though. So coming to America, was it as good as the previous? No, definitely not. And it definitely was not as funny as part 1 either, but it was still good. It's definitely worth the watch. So I do recommend you go see it. And if you have seen it already, please comment below and tell me what did you think about it and what was your favorite part of the movie. And remember, press like, press subscribe, press the bell, and press ALL. See you again soon.